I've turned my screen off to help the bandwidth.
Okay, so we are now recording. Okay, so in terms of for today, I thought we could do it within two sections really. One, to check on the progress and review the current priorities, and I know everybody's been sent the actual ward plan and priorities. And then secondly, if there are any additions that people would like to add into the ward plan, if that's okay. And as I say, we'll try as far as we can to go all the way through. Councillor Francis.
Thank you, Karen. I just thought it was worth mentioning the rationale for tonight's meeting, because whilst we've had a ward plan for some 2 years now, the world has changed quite rapidly in the past 12 months. So the rationale for tonight's meeting was to have a look at what we'd already submitted in the plan, and to add to it very much, and to try and widen the audience and the contribution group to that plan as well. So yeah, does that make sense?
Absolutely, and it's a live document, and you're showing good practice, because they should be reviewed on an annual basis anyway. So yeah. You get a gold star from NDSU for doing that. As there aren't that many people on the call, Councillor Fowler.
Oh, just a couple. Certainly agree what Jane said. It is a working document, as we said a couple of years ago. I'm just wondering today, was you going through the priority themes as laid out in the plan from environment and onwards?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That was my intention. If that's okay, that feels a methodical way of going through. And then, because there are only about 16 of us on the call, I think if people would just like to introduce themselves. Now I'm going to go down in the order that they're on. You know, if you can yourselves look at the participant list, if you press the button that looks a bit like Weebles, if you're of my age, you know what Weebles are, little people, and you can see the list. So I'm going to go down in that order, if that's okay. So it starts with Rob Sutton.
Hi. Yeah, it's Rob Sutton. I'm chair of the Harborne Royalty Trust and former chair of the Moorpool Heritage Trust. Particular interest is the royalty at the moment.
Welcome. Brian? Okay, Brian.
We're not seeing or hearing Brian, so
no, I think I've scared him off because he's disappeared on my screen. Sorry, Brian. Chris.
Hi, evening everyone. Chris Jordan. I work for the City Council and have got responsibility for the neighbourhood agenda and also culture, events and sports in the city.
Hi, Chris.
Councillor Francis.
Thank you. I'm Jane Francis, Labour Councillor for Harborne, Cabinet Member for Education, Skills and Culture. And very nice to meet some strangers this evening. Hello.
Councillor Fowler.
Good evening, Peter Fowler, the other ward member for Harborne, and shadow cabinet member for social inclusion, community safety and equalities.
Jeffrey?
Yes, hello.
We're just introducing who we are and where we if we're representing a group or not.
No, my name's Jeffrey. I'm just interested in the Harborne connections with Rob Sutton. You know, sort of member of his group, and you know, with interest in the royalty.
Smashing.
The Harborne generally, but I've logged on to see the you know, the update of the royalty cinema plans.
Fabulous. You were very welcome, Jeffrey.
Thank you.
Debbie?
There we go. Hi. Yeah, I'm Debbie Kerslake. Three things. One, I live in Harborne. Secondly, I'm the member pioneer for the co-op on Harborne High Street, and I'm also involved with the Harborne Royalty Trust.
Thank you, Debbie. Jay?
Yeah, hi, I'm from Cllr MP's office, the MP for Birmingham Edgbaston. I'm her constituency assistant. So I'm here on her behalf just to sort of listen in and take notes, etc.
Thank you. Kate?
Hi, Kate Smart, and I'm the bid manager for Harborne Village Bid.
Cavan?
Hi, I'm Cavan Hawker. I'm board member at Four Towns TMO and the treasurer for that organisation as well. I live in Harborne, interested in all things Harborne and also community safety as well.
Khalid?
Hi all. Oh, so many important people. I'm just a Gilhurst Road resident, and I'm part on a Gilhurst Road WhatsApp group. So just to help communicate what gets discussed here to them.
Thanks, Khalid. And you're never just a resident. You're the important people around the virtual table. Linda?
Hi, I'm Linda Gibbon. I'm a resident of Harborne and I'm here representing Harborne Village Women's Institute.
Thanks. Thank you. Mary? Yes, that's it. Hello, Mary.
So we may have lost her.
Yeah, we can see you, but we can't hear you, Mary. We might have to come back to you. Sorry. Mohan?
Hello, can you see me?
Yes, we can now. Hello.
Hi, I'm with Khalid as well. I'm on Gilhurst Road, so I'm just a resident as well.
No.
Yeah, but I've spoke with Peter Fowler a few times. We're just worried about crime in the area, increasing crime and speeding is, but just generally we're concerned about Harborne.
And I'm sure we'll come back to that because I know they're some of the priorities that are in the current plan. Sue? Amy, sorry, there are two Sues, just to complicate. Sue. Hello.
Hello. So I'm Sue Amy. I'm a district parks manager for the city, and I cover Edgbaston, Northfield and Selly Oak districts.
It's nice to see you. I've not seen you for ages.
No. Hello.
And the other Sue, Sue Timberlake.
Hello, I'm here with Rob Sutton because I'm involved with the royalty. I'm also representing Park Hill Road parking situation. Our WhatsApp group is getting very active on the parking locally.
Smashing, thanks, Sue. And have I missed anybody out who's snuck in whilst I've been going through the list? Fabulous.
So.
Can I ask, does everybody have a copy of the ward plan and priorities?
Yeah, it's on the computer still.
Lovely. Everybody, because unfortunately I don't seem to be able to share from my computer. But if everybody's got a copy, we will be going through page by page, if that's okay. So I'm going to start with the reviewing and any progress on the ward priorities, and I'm going to go through them in the order that they are on. So it's the environment ones first, and the first one is around street cleanliness and high levels of litter, fly tipping. And in terms of the actions, in terms of both the public sector and what the community can do in terms of those. So this was about proactive street cleaning, built on local knowledge of problem areas, reactive rapid response to public reports, enforcement, reintroduce transparent local reporting of street cleanliness data, and then on the community side, reporting problems to the council, capturing evidence of fly tipping to support prosecutions, only using responsible licensed waste disposal and skip companies, community litter picks, pride in local area and messaging through community groups, etc. Obviously, in terms of relationship managers, it's Mark Airy from the City Council, but I don't think Mark is on the call. But I wondered whether our councillors in the first instance, if there's any updates on any of that.
Well, I think there have been quite a lot of community litter picks that I've been picking up from various social media, and the council have done quite a lot with better, cleaner streets, which a lot of people that are going out actually in Harborne and many other areas and litter picking with councillors, with community groups, and even with some of our staff from the council helping to litter pick. So that is, I think, is progressing very well now. And there is a lady that's leading that by the name of Louise, I think it's Bassant.
Yes.
Yeah, you know that. So that's relatively new and progressing, and will be progressing over the coming weeks and months.
Yeah, in fact, just to add to that, I mean, the council this week has launched the Cleaner and Greener programme, which is going to be a whole citywide programme of activities. We know that apart from a couple of areas, that Harborne comes off quite well in terms of cleanliness. So I've spoken to Louise Besant this week, and there's only one particular area that meets the particular category of need for any intensive cleaning. And I think it's been good that there have been various community activities organised in recent months, including we've had some children and young people going around particular areas, which is fantastic. It's in the high street is looking very clean. It's advantageous, obviously, that we have a very proactive bid in Harborne, because there's lots of effort being made to make sure that the environment is clean there and maintained. So, you know, the benches, the flower pots and the bins, and it's all looking rather smart. That's not to say that we can afford to be complacent with it, because there are different types of litter and stuff. One of the things that really bugs me at the moment is the amount of discarded face masks all over the place from people obviously opening their car doors and just dropping things out of their laps. So I think that's something we need to be mindful. But I think generally we're doing pretty well on the cleaner and greener front. So that's all I'd say on that one. Thank you.
Yes, I think if I can just quickly add on to that piece of work that has been mentioned there from Jane, is that I think that people have mentioned about problems when reporting food to the council on the website. And although there is a good thing about there's more and more capturing of evidence of fly tipping, so that's quite another helpful bit, and going to prosecutions as well. And you mentioned Mark Airy. I think it would be helpful, actually, Karen, that if we actually added her into that block of responsible people, because she is actually deals with the cleaner, greener street campaign.
To add Louise into there.
Yeah, I think it'd be very. We need to add Louise's there, because she's over it all when she tells me.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Certainly. That's Councillor Francis, and then Councillor. I've promoted you, Kate. I made you Councillor, and then Kate. Councillor Francis.
You can be my deputy councillor. I just want to say, I think in the ward plan, it would be useful if we had some very clear information for residents and businesses alike about where and how to report to. I don't find it particularly helpful when people just take to social media and post photographs. It's better to try and get a systematic process whereby local residents know exactly where to go to. And not just put it on social media, because if things are put on social media, you have to wait for somebody to respond and then find who it is. So that's a suggestion from me. Thank you.
So would that be to put the website link actually underneath both Mark and Louise? Does that make sense? Yeah.
I think what there is, Karen, across the city is a number of different things, different hashtags that can be used. So it can be stuff for, broken curbs or poor parking, a whole host of things. Yeah. It's just about making sure that people know where to go.
Yeah. Lovely. And Kate.
Thanks for the promotion, but I think I'll pass on that. I've seen too much. Yeah, I just to add, really, thanks for the compliments, Councillor Francis, about what the bid's been doing. Obviously, a big priority for us at the moment is COVID recovery. And one thing that Chris Jordan will be very aware of is that we've got some funding coming our way in Harborne through the Welcome Back Fund, which is government monies. And because we're a bid, I think I can probably safely say that all the bid areas and some additional areas in the city are getting some funding, and that is going to pay for, there's a contract being procured at the moment for jet washing, so our high street will be completely jet washed, which is great because I don't think it's been done for years and years. Also graffiti removal. Now, I've stated that's not a massive problem for us, and this is in the bid area, by the way, so not the wider Harborne, unfortunately. But I'd be quite, I just wanted to, sorry, I hope I'm not sort of taking up too much time here, but there's some, we don't have a massive problem with tagging, and there has been a little bit, but we do have this artist, Disney, who's been doing his little stencils everywhere, and I just wondered what people's thoughts are, because I think some people might think it's quite artistic, but they are breeding. He's obviously out quite often with his stencils, and yeah, we don't want that, do we? It's going to encourage more tagging, I think. So as part of the funded programme, shall we get that removed?
Okay, there's a couple of hands up and some. So Cavan, sorry if I'm saying that wrong. You say your name and I'll listen to the pronouncing.
Yes, certainly it's Cavan. You got it right first time. Well done. Well done. Yep. In regards to the tagging, I completely agree with Kate that we need to get rid of these tags off the walls, because I mean, the tagging, the stenciling, it does make the area look a bit tatty. And to be honest with you, I mean, I see that as being the thin end of the wedge leading on to antisocial behaviour and other issues. If a place starts looking grubby, it goes downhill a bit, and then it's a vicious circle from there on. So, yeah, if we get those removed, that'd be fantastic.
And sorry, can I just come back on that as well? So as I mentioned, I think that that particular fund is just for the sort of high street bid area, but we do have currently stored kindly but needs moving a barrow that was donated by the city council with loads of things in, and I have in my office some graffiti removal kits. So if people are going out and doing some community action, that does exist. Now, we did have a load of litter pickers, but somebody borrowed them and never returned them. So if you're on this call, whoever you are, because I've lost your name because it was a little while ago, there is stuff, and I think it needs to be used more because it's just sitting in storage. So just to make people aware that.
So Kate, how do people contact? Do they contact you in terms of if they wouldn't the graffiti kits?
I suppose they would, but to be honest, I think it needs a new home, because I don't think we've got the biggest problem on the high street with this stuff. And whilst I did use some of the graffiti wipes, there's 2 graffiti kits, there's 2 first aid kits, and then there's shovels and brushes and it's really fab, and a barrow like Mark, our beat sweeper, has. So I think maybe between me and the councillors, we find it a better home. That's where it's going to get used more.
Thank you.
Okay.
So we can add that I think my best laid plan is not going to work. So I think we probably need to do the progress review and then refresh each individual one as we go along. Seems to make a lot more sense. Councillor Francis and then Councillor Fowler.
Thank you, Karen. Graffiti can be a bit complicated. I reported some time ago some graffiti that was on the bridge of Park Hill Road, just by the entrance to Harborne Walkway. And I got a message back from an officer saying it would only be removed by Parks and Gardens if it was offensive graffiti, which is a subjective matter, so it's not. So I think again, it's a bit like the fly tipping. There needs to be a central point of reporting, so somebody can take appropriate action. Because I think, as Kate said, the area is largely quite clean, but we have to be careful with where graffiti is situated, located. If it's on private land, if it's on housing land, if it's on land that belongs to Parks and Gardens responsibility. So to have a range of different numbers there, I think would be helpful. Thanks.
And Councillor Fowler.
Thank you, Karen. First of all, can I add my thanks as well to Kate Smart, because when I did drive along the High Street and also Lordwood Road, have to compliment on all the plants, wildflowers, etc., and the big centrepiece in the High Street. It looks great, and particularly those new benches, and nice to see the restaurants actually outside. It was looking fabulous. On the graffiti, is right, because I have seen, I think it's Disney or Disney, on the telephone communication box, I think, at the very bottom of War Lane. Also, the other little character that I think he's all round the city now is a gentleman who calls himself Lupica. He's quite prominent as well in the city centre as well. The Barrow, I would agree with Kate, it does need removing, probably from in a better area. I actually, when I picked up a lot of litter pickers, and Kate, if you're happy, I'm going to go back to the depot, and I'm happy to pick up some more litter pickers if you wish, because I've got to go back there. But actual fact, the guy, John Murphy, said that the barrows that we've got actually says are really too big. They are okay for a high street. There is a smaller caddy now, which I'm happy when I go there, I will collect one of those caddies, which is a lot easier to go around as well. And with tagging, it's normally, if it's offensive, I think it's normally within 7 days, and probably other tags. And Jane is right that it should be removed. Actually, I think within 28 days, I think they normally say. But have to say that Birmingham City Council may be slightly different to when I was in Warwickshire, because that's what policy that they had. And again, with graffiti removal, you do have to be very careful, making sure that you read what it says on the bottle or a tin or spray, because certain ones can remove the paint from various articles, as I discovered many decades ago. So it's, I think that's another bit I mentioned to John Murphy's about a bit of training to what you can use on what, like plastics and metal, because I have seen paint bleed into each other, and it's not a pretty sight when it happens. But thank you.
Okay, thank you. I am very aware of the time, so I am going to motor on to the next one, if that's okay. Which is the protection and promotion of green space and infrastructure. Obviously, we're very lucky we've got Sue on the call. So what were put down were the grass verge protection measures, the maintenance of green open space, properly enforce the tree replacement scheme with highways work and new development. On the community side, around additional protection measures that might be needed in identified areas. Some of this, Sue, isn't yours, it's around parking, but help identify areas suitable for meadow seeding, other potential areas for new green open space, and tap into available grants following the example of Nettleford Gardens. More community bulb planting as happened at Moorpool, and look at opportunities for tree planting schemes through organisations such as Woodland Trust, Trees for Life, as operated by the Civic Society. So in the first instance, Sue, do you want to give a bit of a quick update, and then we'll go round others after that?
Yeah, well, just to say, when it comes to identifying grass protection for grass verges, that's something that Marie Brown and the highways team would have to. That's not within our area of responsibility, I'm afraid. We just cut the grass on behalf of highways.
Correct.
So I'll leave the highway related stuff for them to follow up. So with meadow seeding, our main focus for meadows, for creating meadows, is within parks and open spaces, because of the issues that we have on the highway with maintenance and the problems that we have with fly tipping occurring and litter traps and things like that. So we work with our friends groups. We've got a new friends group for Queen's Park now, and we're having a meeting them with the councillors on site in a couple of weeks, where we're going to look at priorities for Queen's Park, and one of those would be about whether or not we can do some meadow creation. We've recently, I say recently, it's over a year ago, because last year seems to have just gone by in a blur. We did some tree planting with Birmingham Trees for Life in Queen's Park, and started to extend some of the existing heavily treed areas to create a woodland copse with mown rides through. And that's an area which would be really great if we could work with the community to get some funding in to do some woodland style planting, you know, bluebells, snowdrops, that sort of thing. So that's the main focus for us. I don't know the Nettleford Gardens scheme, I'm afraid, but basically, if groups want to work with us, we can certainly help them apply for funding for carrying out things in local parks, but the community groups generally need to lead on that, because that's generally how the funding operates. Tree planting schemes, like I said, our main partner for tree planting is Birmingham Trees for Life, and each year we identify sites based on requests that we've had. So if anybody wants to recommend planting trees in any of the parks or open spaces, I've had a request in the last few weeks from a local resident to do some more tree planting in Tennell Lane. So we're quite happy to work with them, and our friends groups quite often apply to the Woodland Trust for tree planting, but I haven't had any specific requests at the moment. But I said, if people want to come to me with suggestions, I'm more than happy to have a chat to them about where we can feasibly do it.
Great. Thanks, Sue. There are a couple of questions. Jeffrey, because you've got your hand up, because we'll start with yourself. That's great.
Right, thank you. Yes, grass verges. The Moorpool estate here, over the winter months, we have suffered a lot with damage to the verges. Some of it, not entirely all, but some of it, of course, when work was decided to redo public footpaths like Moorpool Avenue and the square, the vehicles that came onto the estate to drop the, all the sort of the tarmac and all the materials needed, was sort of 3/4 of across the road. So, of course, every time they came and left the estate, the corners of the grass verges were affected. Now that it's drying up, some of it has leveled out a bit, but I must admit, to all the corner areas, we did try some years ago. It was successful round the circle in putting mesh underneath the worst spots, and to be quite honest, that has been excellent, because you know, lorries have gone over that, but they haven't caused damage. The area, the road, what we used to call the Rose Island at the top of Carlis Avenue, some few years ago now, for some unknown reason, all the rose bed was ripped out and it was grassed over. Now, there are some nice daffodils that have been up, but now that it's been cut, it looks like a hayfield. They've just gone over it with a strimmer. It looks terrible from Lawswood Road. Also, some of the verges, some are like, it depends on what machinery is used on cutting the grass verges. Verges like Carlis Avenue, which are a bit wider, there's a machine that goes up in wheels which cuts. But in the small cul-de-sacs and areas, they use a strimmer. And of course, for the first time last week, this season, the grass verge has just been cut. So, of course, it was over a foot high. So you imagine now that all the straw is all over the footpath.
Okay, so in terms of the island, Jeffrey, what would be your solution? What would you think would be? I mean, it was grassed over, and we've got they're now sort of daffodils painted. So, I mean, I don't know. Well, we were all amazed at why sort of the rose bushes were taken up. When we inquired, we were told that sort of at Amy, that were responsible for the cutting and so on, had got a certain amount of leeway to alter things. Anyway, they ripped up the rose bushes. It was all so we're not going to be able to change that. So is there something that could be suitable now for?
Well, no, really. I mean, the damage is done. I mean, it's been planted out, but I mean, certainly, you know, if it was followed up after it had been cut, I say there's enough straw up there to make a hay bale. You know, so, and it looks awful. It needs tidying.
So we've got Sue on the call, and I'm sure she's written that down to take it away.
Yeah.
Is that correct, Sue?
Yeah, and just to say, I mean, when we cut the bulb areas everywhere, they always do look a bit untidy. It's the kind of the nature of the beast. You know, it's overgrown areas.
Yes.
We have what we're at the moment. We're still operating at reduced hours, and we've got a massive commitment in grass cutting to get through, and they're trying to get around as much as they can within those restricted hours. So,
yes, fair enough. Yes.
So I would say, please bear with us, and it should gradually improve. You know, we've had a massive growth spurt as well with the grass since the weather has changed, and it's a struggle to get everything done. You know, if we were working at full capacity, we'd be in a better position. But unfortunately,
no, it's just that you know, knowing the you know, the state all my life, you know, it and I do understand with the work and of course people coming out in vehicles to do it. It's just that you know, when it got up to last week, I say the grass stalks were sort of getting to be just over a foot high, you know, and the grass everywhere. And of course, the strimmer comes up, it goes up the middle, and it hasn't done the edges. And of course, all over the pavement now we've got straw, you know, and it's you know, I know that it's nitpicking, but it's just something that, you know, it bears in mind that you know, for the estate, you know, it looks. Well, you know, it is the grass verges themselves. I mean, if the corners were looked at, or if it can be considered in some of the worst areas of the corners to have some mesh putting down to protect, because I'm afraid it's going to be that there are always going to be large vehicles now, because people are moving in, they're having work done to the houses, so it's a skip automatically. So, of course, with the cars parked, we've only got room for, one track all round the estate. So, of course, the grass verges are going to suffer.
Point taken, Jeffrey. It's written
Anyway,
down.
yeah, thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
Got quite a lot of hands up. Kate, then Debbie.
Thank you. That sounds like an ideal spot for a wildflower meadow to me. That corner would be beautiful. Yeah, one of the things I wanted to say was just talking about putting trees in. We're looking at the moment about how we can expand the COVID measures in terms of the bollards that are to widen the pavements on the high street. And I've been speaking because there's some money available for Harborne to look at extending what's been done so far. Trees in the high street would be wonderful. If there's any way of putting some trees down Harborne High Street on widened pavements in planters, large planters, just putting it there. So could could that be something that we look at in terms of also things that that absorb pollution, etc. So as part of our green efforts, and also talking of green efforts and planting wildflowers and nice things, you've probably noticed if you've seen the planters that we've put out on the high street, we like to do things differently in Harborne. So we're very insistent that all of our planters are insect and bee friendly. The rest of, whilst I like Harborne being special, the rest of Birmingham needs to catch up with what we're doing. So we specifically, the plants that are in those planters, we specifically worked with Crofton Nursery to have those particular plants, and they look beautiful. When the planters are picked up and removed from the high street in September, October time, those plants, I believe, just get thrown in a big pile. Sue can confirm, she should probably say, no, they're not, Kate, but I'd really like to have a further discussion about how those plants are recycled, whether they're donated to projects, whether we sell them for charity, for anything to just be thrown away, whether they end up in my garden. It's just a shame because they are pollinating. Yes, yours too, Karen. Because they're pollinating, and we need to be doing more of that. So done this for the last 2 years. This is the third year of doing it. The plants, I don't know what happened to the last lot, but just seems sad, and they're perennials, most of them. So my 2 pence again.
Thanks, Kate. And I have recommended, and they may have already contacted you, Moseley High Street, Moseley Regeneration, because I mentioned your wild planting that were bees and insect friendly. So they may contact you because they were looking at some of those schemes as well. So Debbie, you'd got your hand up.
Yeah, hey, just very quickly, Sue obviously mentioned about working with voluntary organisations like the Woodland Trust, and there was a new charity set up during lockdown, the Patchwork Meadow, which is just the other side of the Hagley Road, but they're working throughout Birmingham, creating small patchwork meadows and giving out wildflower seeds and using any small little patches that can become bee friendly. So it might be an organisation that we might think of working with in Harborne.
Debbie, if you've got the email contact, could you put it in the chat box?
Yep,
that'd be fantastic. Thank you. Marion Landsberger. Hello, Marion. It looks as if your mic's off, but we can't hear you. So I will come back and we'll try again. Cavan, you've got your hand up as well.
Hi there, thank you, Karen. Regarding parks, I noticed someone earlier on was mentioning something about a friends group being set up for Queen's Park in Harborne. Now, there's a lovely park down where I live called Grove Park, which is a lovely park. A lot of families use it, a lot of kids use it, and I think it'd be really nice if a friends group was set up for that park so it could be enhanced and improved and improve the quality of life for the community, because it does seem a little, I mean, it's had a few improvements done to it, like it's had benches put in and it's had a pond dredged and so on. But it'd be nice to see it be regenerated a bit more, so it's a bit neater, a bit tidier, and it can be an asset that the community can really take pride in.
It's a great idea. Sue's on the call. I'm sure she's waiting just for a local resident who would be interested in setting that up. Can we link the two of you together?
Yeah, I mean, friends groups are led, that they're not something that the city sets up. It's something that comes from the community and is led by the community, but we work with you and help you and guide you as, and form like a partnership. So anybody, if you've got people who are interested in getting that started at Queen's Park, it sort of started with 2 people, and now I think because of the usefulness of social media, you can get quite a good following together. And then out of that, normally you get a handful of people who want to do more practical things. But then it's amazing the people and experiences that become available who can maybe help for funding and stuff like that. So I'm easy to email. It's just sue.amy@birmingham.gov.uk. So if you want to get in touch.
Yes, certainly, that'd be fantastic. That would. I will get in touch. So it's sue.amy@birmingham.gov.uk.
Yeah. Sue, pop it in the chat box, and then okay. That'd be great. Thank you.
Lovely. Thank you very much.
Marion, we'll try again because you did appear on the screen for a moment. No, she's gone. She must be having connectivity issues. Jenny and then Councillor Fowler, I think, have got their hands up. Jenny Mayland.
Hi there. Hi, everyone. Can I just say the window, the boxes along the high street look absolutely gorgeous. I really loved them the other day. The thing I wanted to mention, I live quite near to the St. Peter's Glebe fields, and that's quite a large open green space. I don't know who owns it exactly. It used to be used by the Scouts and I think the Brownies as well for camping, and I think they did a bonfire and a fireworks night on it quite regularly. And now it's been fenced off. And it seems like such a shame that the Scouts can't use it. So I didn't know if this is the forum to raise it, but I just wanted to say, it's a lovely big open space and seemed like the Scouts got real joy out of it. And now it's fenced off and they can't use it. I don't know if anybody knows the story of it and if anything can be done to say.
So Jenny, I'm just wondering whether it was fenced off when we were in lockdown.
No, it was before then. Yeah, it was before. Yeah, so I don't think it's a COVID reason. I mean, it's just a green field, and it's a pity as well because it's just the grass is just growing. It's not like anybody's turning it into a wildflower meadow, or it doesn't feel like there's a plan for the land. It's just empty, doing nothing.
Okay. What roads is it by? Because we can find out who the owner is.
Yeah, so it's right by, that corner near the Bell Pub and St. Peter's Church, and then there's St. Peter's Church Hall with the nursery school in there, which I think is where the Scouts meet. And then it's just behind that, really near the St. Peter's Vicarage.
Would it be parish?
That might be theirs.
yeah, it might be, yeah.
Okay, it's noted down, and it can go off to find out. That's great. Thanks, Jenny.
Thanks.
You could always throw a few seeds in there.
Surreptitious gardening. It sounds quite fun.
Yeah. Debbie and then Councillor Fowler. Debbie, I'm not sure if that's still an old hand.
Yeah, sorry, that's an old one.
Oh, okay. Councillor Fowler.
Thank you, Karen. Debbie's talked about it. I know that when the last meeting we had was my big love for wildflowers, so Kate and I are at one with that, and certainly welcome the idea of more trees in the high street to complement, and it would just look very special down there. There was a mention about trees in Tennell Lane. Interestingly enough, requests I have had from Newcroft Avenue for blossom trees. They were removed some years ago, and I've had residents saying, can we have them back? So I think it was Sue that mentioned that. So if we could have a look at that. There was talk about, from Jeffrey with thanks, about the rose bed at the top of Carlos Avenue, and that has been going on for some years. When they showed me where it had actually been, I think a lady called Jill Howe showed me that particular area many years ago and said they wanted some rose bushes, and I think, or a little section in the middle, a bit like as we looked at, a more pool in bloom is what we were sort of looking at. I don't know whether that comes under Sue or Marie Brown on that rosebud at the very top. Sue, I don't even tell us, inform us on that. And Jeffrey, you mentioned about mesh and the circles around the circle, the mesh at the verges rather.
Yes.
I think it would be helpful actually. You know Sue Hanson?
Yes. By name, certainly, yeah.
Right. Just for interest, the Morpool Residents Association.
Yes, I know it. Yes.
Yeah, John Healy, chairman.
Yes, I know John.
Thank you. And Sarah Hanson. We had a site visit.
Sarah is moving.
Yes.
Or has, if in that case, doesn't know a house was for sale.
No, not at the moment. So she's not moving at the moment.
Yes, I know Sarah.
Yeah. Well, we had a meeting with Stuart Cross, so I think it'd be helpful because I know that the Residents Association had a number of ideas that they were talking about, and Stuart has spoken with Sarah Hanson and has come back with some ideas. So could I suggest that you have a chat with them, or I'll sort out that they can communicate with you and show you what.
Yes, certainly. No, that's a great. Thank you.
No, I'll do that for you, Jeffrey. I'll arrange.
Thank you very much indeed.
So you'll get an idea, and then obviously you can contribute as well to your concerns and other things as well. And I think that is it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Debbie and Jenny, your hands are still up. Are they old hands? Do you want me just to take them down?
Sorry, yes, old hand. I'll take it down.
Yeah, that's okay. Lovely. I can see we're going to be here till tomorrow at the moment. We're not going to be here till tomorrow. I'm hungry, so the time will be ruled by my tummy. So although it's really useful and lots of connections are being made. In terms of the next three, which come under the environment, there's recycling, flooding and air quality. I'm going to take the three together because I'm not sure whether there has been any particular action on those. I don't know if anybody's able to update on any of those three. I'm just aware there are other people on the call, so it might be that we come back to those, but I'm just aware there are others on the call and that might want to contribute on some of the others.
Karen, on very quickly on flooding, I am aware that it talks about the flood review that the City Council, the Environment Agency and Severn Trent have put together a document. I can't remember what it's called now, but that might be worth just checking into where they are with that. It's a long-term plan. Jane might know a little bit more, but yeah, that is a long-term plan. But it'd be healthy, I think, for us to find out for the next time where the three have got in partnership with that particular scheme. And again, on recycling, Dave Miller again and others. Yes, and it is again, like you said, Mark Airy, Dave Miller, all into that. I'm not sure about the air quality. I couldn't find out who that person was dealing with that. But recycling again, I think it all comes to Dave Miller and probably again Louise Bassan.
Lovely. Yeah, we'll do that.
Thank you.
We'll go on to the community cohesion and combating social isolation, which you put forward as one of your main things. I know Sawinder's name is down on the list. She is actually on long-term sick counsellor, so you won't have a report back from there. But obviously, we've also listed on the community side the work of the big local. I know Michael's not here today, but we can separately email him to just get a bit of an update on the big local for Welsh House Farm, because it's a key area of the ward. The next one was around social isolation and was linked to particularly with older people, and obviously there is now a neighbourhood network scheme that covers Edgbaston, which is Gateway, and Catherine's name. Again, I don't know if there's anybody on the call who's able to update on the activities that have come from that as yet, but that might need an email as well.
Karen, I think you'll find it's Deborah. That's probably because Karen.
Yeah.
Catherine
Hi, Karen.
Oh, hi. Sorry.
No, it's okay. Catherine was supposed to be on, but she was having some technical difficulties, so I've jumped in.
Oh, go on then. Go ahead. It'd be nice.
Lovely to see you all. Yeah, so we're actually getting back out into the community. Peter, lovely to see you. You came to our steering group last week, didn't you? Lovely to see you again. We've been making connections. We've obviously been adding to the Connector Support Directory. Harborne has been one of the quiet places. Quinton was our main focus when I came into the role in September. So I'm looking to connect with more people in the Harborne area. Alison, who Debbie mentioned, she's been a really big key player in Quinton with the Patchwork Meadows. We've connected her with a few people, and she recently took a walk around Queen's Park with Councillor Dom Stamford. So I think she's keen to be active in the community around Harbour.
Deborah, it's a different ward. Just so you're aware, Queen's Park will come under Councillor Fowler and Councillor Francis.
Yeah. Yes, I know. Dom said that he was working a lot with Peter, so I know that they can talk to each other about that. It's Queen's Park she's been to.
Okay. So Deborah, would you find it useful? Sorry, is it Debbie or Deborah?
Either.
Either. Okay. Obviously, if there is some information on the update on the NNS that you would like to be circulated through the Harborne ward list that we do hold, and then please send it. You can send it through to me, and it can then be circulated through the lists that we've got. And certainly, I'm sure both the local councillors would be really keen to get involved in any either the small grants bit that you have, and also any other of the opportunities that you've currently got.
That would be lovely, thank you. We've recently done the Prevention and Community Grants newsletter with BBSC and the commissioners.
You have?
I did actually CC all of the councillors in, so I should have a copy, but I'll share that with you to pass on if you don't mind.
I do have that, don't worry.
We've also had a meeting with Aging Better today. They've got some funding pots for non-constituted groups who are wishing to look to set up some new activities or to be active in new areas. So I'll connect you with those people too.
So I don't know if you've got a one-pager sort of introductory information. If you want to send it to me, I'll make sure that it gets circulated round. And I know Councillor Francis has just got a quick question for you, I think.
It's just about making sure that we've got the details of the neighbourhood network in the ward plan. So again, it's readily available to anybody who wants it. I think you sent through, Deborah, the newsletter today, which I had a look at. But it's just going to everybody on our database. That's the easiest way of doing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Thanks, Debbie. It's nice to see you with a. Well, I've got a different hat on. I usually see you with an NNS hat on.
It's lovely to see you all.
Thanks,
Karen.
Thanks very much. Improving engagement, obviously that has been very difficult during lockdown, in terms of everything has been virtual, but that was around promoting and opening up ward forums, including holding them at different times and locations, Of course, your location has been a virtual one for the last 15 months, but I'm sure that is still an intention when they can go back live. The next one is the protection of local assets. I'm aware Chris is on the call, and also obviously what was put down was to support the protection of local assets through council heritage and planning powers, including working with building owners and community groups, and particular reference around Moorpool and royalty. I know that Rob is on the call, so I don't know whether there is any update in terms of where we are up to with that. So I don't know if Councillor Fowler, you want to, your hand was up, and then pass it over to Rob.
I'll pass it over to Rob in the first instance. Mine was actually just, I had my hand up, but you missed it, about improving engagement, because Jane and I, we've often talked when we were face to face with the public, where we weren't quite communicating through the various avenues, but now there is apps and various other kinds of media that we need to get through to actually extend to as many people as we can, to make residents of Harborne aware that these forums are taking place, to get them to engage more. But it's just something I think behind the scenes, I think we can just have a look at, I think, as I say, behind the scenes, and see how we can expand on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Fowler. Rob, what's the update on the royalty then?
Hi there. Yeah, well, we had some discussions a month or so back with the owner online, and we were given some indication of what he planned to do and what he was prepared to offer to us. Excuse me, losing my voice a bit today. But there was nothing very much there, and those discussions were on a commercially confidential basis. So you'd have to ask the owner what his plans are for the building at the moment. But we would hope that something is going to happen fairly soon, because, you know, as we all know, it's dragged on for years now. So he notified a price on the building which was ridiculous. I think we just have to wait and see what the owner is going to bring forward for the building. He's presumably in discussions with planning, going through with them what is feasible. We're also in discussions with planning. We have a pre-app with them, so we're looking at what's feasible for the building still, what alternatives there are for it. I must say we're not getting much response from planning at the moment, so I would have thought they'd have been a little bit more interested in having some constructive dialogue. So let's hope something is going to move forward on it, and then we'll have to decide what to do next.
I think in relation to the plan, it's sort of, I know you've written something around perhaps looking at sort of COVID recovery, more local things in relation to potential for the building. I think that's been widely circulated, hasn't it? And
yeah,
might be something that would be useful to look at in terms of the ward priorities.
I mean, if you look at what similar buildings on other high streets have done in terms of drawing in users to the high street, it can be really beneficial to us. I mean, I think people wanting more to use local facilities, they don't want to necessarily travel into the city, and it's not necessarily going to be that easy to do so until we get the transport system fully set up. People want to be able to shop local, certainly they do it online, but they certainly want to go out for entertainment and social activities locally, you know, where they can walk to it and not worry about driving. So it has a big advantage in what it can deliver there. And from the survey that we did, we know that there is a strong requirement for cinema and for live performance, and somewhere where bands can perform again in Harborne. There are the odd places where they go, but it's not like it used to be. And also for more community facilities. We lost the clock tower some years back, you know, which is well used. And again, what we'd offer at the royalty alongside the commercial activities we put on would support that. So there's, it's a big driver for recovery, and I'm sure Kate has got other ideas that they can do for the high street, and all these things can be brought together to make sure that Harborne really is a place to use and doesn't die on its feet. It's a tipping balance almost at the moment. Yeah. People shopping online and going elsewhere.
Thanks, Rob. I mean, it does sound as if it's still a real priority to keep within the as a priority within the ward plan, particularly in terms of the issues around COVID recovery and keeping local, and the sort of 15-minute neighbourhood. It fits into all of that. Is that the general consensus around the virtual table? And obviously we have a really good example, which is another example is the Morpool Trust of community assets. So I think we've got some really examples of good practice on the patch. A face has popped up. Jonathan, have you got a question?
Oh no, more just to support Rob, really. Okay. Huge asset, and currently it's a focus of crime and people doing parkour around the back of it, which is absolutely ridiculous. That I'm on Street Watch, and we're regularly around the back there, just checking, and there's a considerable worry that somebody's actually going to come to harm. Not somebody particularly committing crime, but having an adventure around the back of the royalty. And as Rob says, it's a massive resource. I'm a GP, and we all know that social prescribing is the watchword. There could be a huge number of options there, which are not in the sort of purview of one particular group. It could be within the trusts. Obviously, it have to be within the trusts. Understanding of what a commercially viable arrangement would be, but we're constantly having discussions with third sectors about activities that reduce crime, improve cohesion. I don't know if you know, but there was a mugging right outside the royalty about 2 or 3 months ago. Really unpleasant. I'm not saying that wouldn't have happened with the royalty as we'd like it to be, but every little thing that we can do to improve the sort of environment of Harborne is going to be a move to drive down crime and improve our environment.
Thanks, Jonathan. Debbie, and then Councillor Fowler. I think I've got the hands up. Debbie, I'm sorry, Jeffrey, I didn't see your hand. Yeah. Hold on. So it's Debbie first.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, it was just to add to what Rob said. Really, it does seem that in the light of COVID-19 that we need now more than ever to have that heart of the community, and that the royalty would really bring something both to the business and to the community. Sorry, I thought I sort of lost you then. And I just wondered, is there any way of strengthening support for the royalty in the plan? Because at the moment it feels a little bit vague.
The plan is your plan. It belongs to your ward. If there is anything else that you would want to strengthen it, then that's within your gifts to put in. What do you think it should be, Debbie? What would make it feel?
Well, it's almost, I mean, it's almost like it also is sort of saying it's a sort of local asset, almost like from the building, but it's such an asset in terms of the community, and something about needing those community facilities within Harborne, leading somewhere where people can congregate. And I think to build on, COVID-19 has been terrible, but it has actually really brought communities together, and now seems to be an ideal opportunity to actually build on the community cohesion that we've got, and to focus that in on the centre of Harborne.
Okay, we can think of put a form of words in and then see if that feels about right when it comes out. Councillor Fowler, then Councillor Francis, then Kate.
First of all, before I come in, can I just give way to Jeffrey, please?
Oh, thank you. Yeah, yes, with the last comments, I agree. The community side is essential. So, I mean, the actual building could be an asset for Harborne. I mean, I know that it looks absolutely terrible now, but I mean, at one time it was a beautiful frontage and protected, and it's in a prominent spot. But I think, you know, as part cinema, it could revive. It would be good because, you know, apart from going into town, which now I think people not probably want to do, especially now with the congestion charges we're going within the city centre. I think that what could be made available at the Royalty, you know, the cinema, would be really beneficial to Harborne and to the local people. I mean, at one time, of course, there was the Royalty, and there was the old Fleet Pit, the Serpentine as well. You know, we had. But I mean, there were many happy days at the Royalty, you know, for Saturday mornings. But I mean, it is an attractive building, and if it could be, you know, restored and built on, I mean, it's quite a centrepiece for Harborne. You know, but I agree with all the community side. You know, the previous lady said. I mean, that's first class. But from the aesthetic point of view, I think, you know, we would benefit as well. Anyway, thank you very much. Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Sorry, I forgot you'd put your hand up.
No,
Sorry.
come on now. Thank you.
Councillor Fowler, then Councillor Francis, and then Kate.
Thank you. I certainly know where people are coming from this. Sadly, and nothing to do with me, but sadly, 3-4 months after I got elected, and sadly it caught fire. But I was up in Stockport, and I visited a place called the Plaza, which one might know about, and that is a beautiful building. And what we lost from Harborne with the Royalty, I think Jane might come in and echo this, but difficulties we have with the site. Because it was mentioned before about the Royalty and what we can do, and as Jane actually did say in one particular meeting that it is a private company, it's their building, it's very difficult for us. Even having said that, we have had meetings which Rob has been involved with as well, and others, and Jane, via Andrew Fuller from the council, talking to True Pearl, I think it is, or Blue Pearl it's called. They have been looking at various things about how they can, what they can do with that land. I think at the last time when they did a building survey, it didn't look good structurally. And of course, whilst they're looking at the area, they have to consult with English Heritage. I'm not sure, Rob might know, I'm not sure what the outcome was from English Heritage. And I think both Jane and I have said quite often that building or that area needs something with community use as well as a business venture. And I've often said that it needs something that activities can be daytime and evening for both daytime and evening economies, and something that residents can use and visitors coming to Harborne and be proud of. And it's pleasing as well that we've actually got there is the support of Andy Street, the West Midlands Mayor, as Rob has met with Andy. At this moment, Rob, thank you for the information you sent through to me. And because of tonight, I did ask planning if there was anything in the pipeline, and they said that it is coming to a pre-application. And for those who may not know, that it's really talking to the planners and saying, if we were to look at doing this, what are the chances of us getting planning application and approval for this? That is, as far as I know, is at the stage, and we're still a long way down before we get any planning application and before it goes live. for the consultation. But I'm sure Rob may want to come back in again at some point. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Francis.
Thank you, Karen. Yes, it's been a torturous few years with this process, and frustration, I think, for everybody involved, that it seems to take forever to get communication, information, decision making. It's been a nightmare. I don't think anybody's had fun. What I would say, I mean, colleagues have talked about the importance of the high street and about Harborne as a neighbourhood, and we're all going to have to, both as residents, as businesses, have to reinvent ourselves about how we use our space, and I think that's crucially important. The positive thing is that Harborne has come out of things rather well, positively. It's still doing good business. You know, the people want to come here. It's a destination centre, and some of the new businesses that have opened are going to actually increase on that. I can't help thinking, as I'm listening to the conversation about the historical context of the royalty and the frustrations, is that perhaps now is the time, as we refresh the ward plan, to think about how, as a community campaigning group, we try and widen that network, because at the moment it still feels very small, and I actually think there's a lot of interest from bringing people together from different stakeholders to carry on a campaign almost for doing something about it, and linking in with, you know, the change that we're going to have to manage. Now, I'm acutely aware that there have been some quite serious crimes recently in and around the royalty, which is deeply worrying. It's still, because it's not properly maintained, it's still attracting a group of people that are going there and using it, quite frankly, for illegal business. So whilst the police can share that information with us, there are limitations as to what they can do because of the nature of the building. But I think perhaps there's room to have more of a community presence, and we've got some very successful neighbourhood watch groups in Birmingham, and I think we need to involve them and widen a community-based campaign about the future of the royalty. That would be my suggestion to you.
Yeah. I think also with a lot of the sort of sheltered accommodation, it would be really good to have somewhere local in Harborne, you know, for people to feel safe, where they could go to for you know, for a film or for a social gathering. You know, there are a lot of buildings now that are meant for the elderly. You know, I don't think really they'd want to sort of trespass into town, you know, in the evening, but, you know, to be local in Harborne would be an asset.
Thank you. Rob, I will come back to you, but there's Kate who's got her hand up, and Linda, and then we'll let you sort of round it up. So Kate and then Linda.
Yeah, at risk of being very unpopular here, I have some major concerns. I think the ideas are lovely. I haven't yet seen any really clear research been done into the identifiable need for these community services, and where these people are that are going to come and use this space, that are going to use the cinema regularly, and where, you know, how they're going to travel there, all those sorts of things. You know, and I think I agree, you know, it would have been wonderful to have saved that auditorium, etc. It doesn't exist anymore, and I think a lot of time and effort is spent on something that doesn't actually really exist anymore. And you know, if there is an identifiable need for community spaces and bringing people together, the high street is the place for it, absolutely. As Councillor Francis said, the increasing evidence is that high streets are going to become less about retail and more about leisure. But, you know, we have, for example, the Peacocks building now, a big space that's now empty, why aren't community groups looking at moving into some of the void premises and the high street? Rents, yes, are difficult, but I just think I just get very concerned because this has slowed down the whole development or the improvement of that area. It creates a huge cut-off between two ends of Harborne, and you run the risk, if this carries on much longer, as for the original village end to decline because it's just too detached from where the main activity is. And also, how has it come to be empty, this building, if the community so want to get out there and come together? And there was a cinema there was a bingo hall there, they weren't used, and I just get really concerned about what the evidence is for these things. And that's me talking personally. I'm not representing the bid with those comments. I'm possibly representing some of the director's thoughts, but it just worries me that it's a beautiful, I understand there are these projects that exist, but the fact is that building is owned by private people. They can, it's like me trying to put planning in and ideas on Councillor Fowler's house. I don't own it, so I can come up with some lovely plans on what I'm going to do with his house and his garden, but I don't own it. So and all the time this is going on, it's not helping the high street at all. Yeah.
Thanks, Kate.
I want to know what evidence is that is needed.
I just wonder, given that we're coming out of COVID recovery and this notion that people are 50-minute neighbourhoods and people do want to do things locally, that might be something that the royalty group and Rob, perhaps to just try and get a bit an up-to-date response, that adding on to the really good work that they did before, because we are in a different place. So that might be one of the things that might help, and if there is still that desire and need.
Sorry, can I just quickly come back? I meant to say, please don't think that I don't think something needs to be done with that space, because I absolutely do. It's a priority.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I think what I was concerned about was what I understood a suggestion to be of how do we get more people behind this royalty trust and this move for this community space. I think the royalty needs to be in the ward plan and it being developed. I don't think, personally, I don't know that the ward plan should say how that is going to happen, because that's making a very clear decision about some, I don't know, it just doesn't sit right with me. I think, something needs to happen. In community usage on high streets needs to improve, but whether those two things are connected, I don't know.
Can I come back in there?
Yeah, there's Linda, just Linda first, Rob, and then...
Yeah, sure.
So, Linda.
Hi, I'm Linda from Harborne Village Women's Institute. I just want to follow on from what Kate was saying, actually. I'm wondering how many community groups have been displaced as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. We certainly have. We've lost our meeting venue. We are struggling now to, well, we may have secured another venue. We're trying to desperately to stay within B17, but it's all about trying to maintain our current membership and find a space in relatively close proximity to the high street that can accommodate all of our members. So we've kept ourselves going on a virtual format for over a year now. We're starting to come back into looking at in-person indoor meetings. And like I said, we've been displaced. I don't know how many other community groups are out there in Harborne that are finding the same thing.
It's a really, really good point, Linda. And also there are newer community buildings that have sprung up. There's the, is it St. John's Church? Their big new premises that's opposite the petrol station.
Well, what we've been doing is we've been investigating all of these things, but there's a lot of demand and we don't think we're going to find a suitable space. There is, just to go back to Kate's comment, I think there is demand out there, and there are community groups that have been displaced, but I don't think we've captured or audited any of that data or tried to.
I think it's really good point. Thank you, Linda.
Thank you.
Rob, do you want to just come back?
Yeah, I mean, we've had continuous inquiries for use of that building, and over the last 4 or 5 years, however long it's dragged on, and we don't have it to offer at the moment. We've had an inquiry from an orchestra that wants a 700-seat auditorium. We weren't even planning to have anything like that. We've had other groups wanting to come in. There's no shortage of people that want to use that building. It's balancing the commercial side as well. And we've gone out and we've talked to other groups and we've looked at the commercial aspects of it. So we know, we've talked to other groups that have run small cinemas that said, 1 screen's not enough, you need 2 screens to really make it a good offering for your local people. You can do it with one screen, but 2's better. So we've done the plans, we've done the figures, we've done a business plan that the Architectural Heritage Fund went far beyond their expectations in what's in it. We've got commercial people on our board that really know their stuff. The problem is we don't have the building, as Kate says. She's quite right about that. We don't have the building. Now, at the moment, the City Council seemed willing to preside over this ongoing saga for year after year, and we do need to resolve it. It may be in private ownership, but there is things the council could do to bring this to a conclusion, I think, or to encourage people to be a little bit more negotiable in their aspirations. And we've done the figures. We know how much profit is going to be made on that building, and they're going to do very well out of it. There's plenty of scope to include community and social provision in it. We've just got to bide our time. Maybe we'll get a more enlightened owner come along once he gets his planning permission, and then we'll be able to rethink it.
Thank you, Rob. And last one on the Councillor Francis, your hand's still up. Is that an old hand or new hand?
It's a new hand.
Yep.
I just wanted to, in context of what Linda said, one of the things that has happened over the past 12 months with COVID, with so many organisations having to close or all of us working virtually, is that since we emerged from COVID, some organisations have had to become more entrepreneurial, and instead of letting spaces out to community or third sector organisations, they're being a bit more commercial in their approach. We have to be mindful of that. There are other venues, of course, across the board. It's just that some of them are more desirable than others, I would say. Thank you. That's all. My clock is telling me 1:39. Yes. We're going to stop.
It is 19:59. I propose that we carry on till 8:15, but that's it today, if that's okay. I just know the High Street is on next, and that we cover that, because that is the next priority, and it may well be that we need to come back to do some of the others, but I think simply because of the issue around the emergence of the neighbourhood and people shopping more locally, I just wondered if Kate wanted to respond on the priority that's in there around this ongoing support for the bid and the development plan, which Prasid was attached to the back of this. And I don't think, forgive me, Wayne, if you've crept on whilst I've been chatting, but I know that Chris is still on. I think Wayne had accepted, but he's possibly on leave now. So, Kate, do you want to just update on the specific issue? And you touched on it actually. It very neatly goes into this. It was about the empty units and lack of diversity on the high street when this was written in October 2019, and obviously the issue around COVID has obviously had some impact on that as well.
Yeah, I mean, I sat on a webinar yesterday, which is from a local data company, who are a company that collect data about voids and business movement across the country, and I was really encouraged by what they were saying. Well, it sounds nasty actually, because what they were saying was things are bad and void rates are up. But I was encouraged because I don't think Harborne's following that trend, and also the businesses that are most in trouble, we don't have that mix of businesses in our high street. So we seem to be surviving quite nicely. Thank you, she says, touching every bit of wood she can find, because yeah, we've got new businesses moving in. So we've got premises that have been empty for quite a while pre-COVID, and they're being taken up. We've got new businesses coming in. We've got for example, Holy Moly. So we lost Prezzo, but Holy Moly are moving into the Prezzo building. So that wasn't empty for very long at all. Holy Moly are relocating from Grand Central. So sorry to my colleague at Retail Bid who's losing a business, but you know, you win some, you lose some. But yeah, so I think it's not looking too, I really hate saying it, but it's not looking too bad. Now, obviously, I'm going to put that all down to the work of the bid. It's all to do with the bid, haha. But in all seriousness, I think it helps because we're, you know, and meetings like this, we're all watching over what's happening in Harborne and having a plan for how we look after the area. I think we face now, you're talking about shopping local, etc. People will start to move back to the city. I think, you know, that's going to happen. So we do have to really push that shop local and encourage people to stay local. In terms of the bid runs for 5 years, and next year is our final year. So at some point, assuming that we think it's viable, the bid will look to renew. That means that all our businesses need to vote yes, and they need to vote, basically they're voting with their purses because they have to pay to run this bid. So we need residents to show their appreciation of what the business investment has done for the area. I'd like to think that it's helped, and so it's very important that that bid continues. But yeah, at the moment, I'm pleasantly surprised. Maybe I think that, you know, we've got to keep on this because I think that we haven't seen the impact of COVID yet. I suspect it will come out later on, and who knows when we're actually going to be out of this situation completely, if ever. So yeah, we're not out of the woods yet, and some people may see their doors close further down the line if they just can't make things stack. But the grants have been very helpful. Most of our businesses now have received their God, I can't remember the name of the grant because there's been so many different ones, but Chris will know it. But yeah, so they've received grants, and some of them are quite sizable amounts to help them come back post lockdown. So yeah, things are kind of okay, but we have got that old beast that is the Peacocks building, that when I first came into this job, it was, does anyone know what's happening with the home bargains unit? And now it's going to be, does anyone know what's happening with the Peacocks unit? It's so vast that.
Kate, is the post office building still vacant, or is somebody coming?
Well, there's the thing. I've been told they're very close to signing for a restaurant, a high-end restaurant. The old Hayes Travel is going to be Oaks Lettings Company. So yeah, there's someone interested in the Bath store again for a restaurant. We're becoming a bit of a foodie town, which we can use to market Harborne. At least that's sort of leisure activity, which is good. That's what people want. But yeah, there's some interesting businesses. Sort of, we've had some digital marketing company move into one of the units on the high street as well. But we need to, because of this leisure thing, it comes back to the clean air and blah, 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 and trees. We need to widen our pavements, give the space to the people, not the traffic. Yes. That's how we've got to move forward in Harborne.
And you mentioned whether the void properties, are you looking at whether they can temporarily be used as community pop-ups, or is that viable? Or
it's something I've never managed to achieve, and it's very difficult because of things like insurance, access to utilities and things like that, that a lot of landlords would rather just have them sat there empty than have someone come in and you know, have it for 3 months. It would be lovely. I mean, we tried to do like an open air art gallery with the voids, and got loads of local artists interested in just displaying stuff in the windows, so they look less sort of uncared for. And didn't all those units suddenly get interested parties and get let? So then we had lots of angry artists who wanted to display their art, and I couldn't give them any space. But just one thing to be concerned about, it sort of goes back to the royalty, is there's a unit next door to Silver and Love on the High Street that's got scaffolding outside. That is owned by the owner of Midland Carpets, and he is going to be relocating, and there's a planning application in. He's going to be relocating his business to the High Street, that main bit of the High Street. So the carpet shop will be further down. But that then means that that unit is going to be empty. So all the time we're getting a bit of a ghost town in that section of Harborne, which we really need to look out for.
Okay, thanks, Kate. Chris, I think you're still there. Yeah. Is there anything that you want to add sort of strategically about bids and high streets from a council perspective?
I mean, I think during the year we've just had, that we've worked increasingly closely with the bids. There's always a few ups and downs in that, but you know, we've tried to channel the resources that have come out of COVID government funding streams and get them out into the local areas where we can. I put it in the chat earlier again around, you know, the royalty or other buildings that you think are really important to the high street. It is worth bringing Chris Hurst into those conversations, because he has a remit that's not just about relationship with business improvement districts, but also some of that thinking around the future of high streets as well is within his responsibilities. So for people that don't know, the authority sort of identified I suppose a gap at a senior level around, you know, working with bids and looking at the future of high street. So Chris Hurst has come in relatively recently and trying to fill that gap. So I think he'd be a good person to talk to around, you know, some of that strategic piece around the high street and the links through to some of those key buildings and spaces. I mean, the other thing I'd throw in just around buildings, and please take this as an avenue to explore rather than a solution for anything, that the council continues to explore a concept that has the terminology of public hubs, but basically how do you bring things together in a setting, you know, and co-locate things. And so whether or not, you know, you mentioned vacant big shop units and obviously the buildings that are important to the community, whether or not there is any better joined up thinking around that might be worth exploring as well. But yeah, bring Chris into those conversations, I would.
Thank you. I'm very mindful because people have said they put things in the chat box. My chat box doesn't appear to be working. So anybody, Chris, I don't know what, because it saves it on a BCC computer to anybody who's joined. I don't know if there's a way of sending that to me after we've finished, but for some reason I can't see any of the chat. So yeah, that's just
there's quite a lot in there, Karen.
Yeah, so I might have to cut and paste yours after the meeting. And Councillor Francis and then Jeffrey.
Thank you. I'm going to be really quick. I just wanted to pick up what Kate said. I don't think we should be in the business of being embarrassed or shy about being a really successful neighbourhood. That's good, and it's a credit to everybody, not just people on the bid, but for everybody who lives, works, studies in Harborne. The onus is on us to keep that going, and I think there will be some changes over the next 12 months. I think the way we use the city will be different. I think the way we travel is going to get more complicated, and it may well be that, you know, we're seeing some benefits right now because it's summer months and there's that inkling of emerging out of COVID and, you know, the success of vaccinations. We need to keep an eye on how things go in our local economy, because It will be different during the winter, no doubt about it. So it's fantastic that we've got all the restaurants coming. It's great that Harborne is a destination neighbourhood. We can't ignore the Commonwealth Games and the impact that's going to have on our local area as well. Hugely important. That's going to bring next year, you know, increasing numbers of visitors. People are going to be involved in all sorts of activities, not just sporting, but arts and cultural across our neighbourhood. So let's spend the next 12 months being very positive about who we are and what we've got, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Jeffrey, you got your hand up. You're on mute, Jeffrey. You just need to unmute yourself. I can't unmute you, I'm afraid, this end.
Karen, can I make a suggestion, if I may? Jeffrey is still muted. There's clearly more discussion to be had about our ward plan. So we have a meeting scheduled for July. Can I make the suggestion, if Councillor Fowler is agreeable, that the bulk of our agenda is taken up with finishing this piece of work off? Because there have been some areas that we've not touched upon.
Absolutely. I was going to suggest at the end that we do need, you know, to be fair to everybody, that we do need to include the others as well. Jeffrey, are you off?
Yes, I've found out what I did now, dear. No, I just briefly, I was sort of sorry to see the Peacock building, you know, Edinburgh Wall Shop go, because as somebody who doesn't buy online and who likes the sort of the you know, variety of shops, that to me was quite a nice asset to Harborne. I know the restaurants are popular and cafes are popular. No, I mean, I live locally, I don't use them, but you know, to have a variety of shops as well would be useful. You know, ironmongers. I mean, the old village. I mean, it had the co-ops, the butchers. You know, the lot, and now, of course, I mean, the supermarkets have taken over most of that anyway. But let's say ironmongers and outfitters.
Okay, I'm sure Kate is mindful of the mix. But yes, it was a useful shop.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I mean,
I'm just mindful of the time, Jeffrey. I am going to leave the last 30 seconds to one for Jane, Francis, and one for Councillor Fowler. Just to finish it off. So, Councillor Fowler, you can start. And then Councillor Francis, you can finish that, and then we will finish at past.
It was me thinking it'd be ladies first.
Well, there are other sayings as well, Councillor, but I'm far too nice.
This is the 21st century, so boys first, please. Yeah.
You're using your time.
Right. Very happy to take this to the 26th of July. There are only actually, I think, three, apart from this, there's only four areas to look at, I think, which is parking, maintenance, young people, and then community safety. And I know Mohan and Khalid will be in on that. So yeah, and as far as the high street is concerned, I'm slightly different to Jane. I think that we will see more people coming back to shop local as well as online, and of course with the leisure things that are coming in as well. So I think there's going to be a mix. Otherwise, you could potentially looking for a ghost town or a ghost village, and that's not what we want. We want a good mixture and healthy. But yes, we'll talk offline about putting something together for the 26th of July.
Thank you, Councillor Fowler. Councillor Francis.
26th of July is. I think the effort should be put into making sure that the plan is absolutely as up to date as possible in terms of signposting, in terms of other agencies, in terms of very basic stuff, advice surgeries and what's open and what isn't. So we've got a live working document to take forward. And if we can have, you know, fairly sort of structured agenda, I think that'd be quite helpful to have this discussion. Yeah,
we'll start with the ones that haven't been done. So my apologies for people who wanted to talk about the others. And in terms of getting it up to date, obviously there are the relationship managers that the councillors have, in terms of perhaps getting some of those just to update their bits. I'm really sorry I've not kept to time. But thank you very much. I think the discussions were very useful, and they will get written into the plan. And then perhaps Councillor Francis and Councillor Fowler, we might want to have a meeting in a couple of weeks' time, just to see where we've got to. Thank you very much for everybody attending. Sorry, Linda, I know you've got your hand up. Is it something that can be dealt with outside of the meeting, or?
Yeah, just very quickly, it's time at the next meeting for additions, please.
6:30 till 8.
So the date of the meeting is?
Yeah, there was something that as a Women's Institute we wanted to add to the plan, but we haven't been able to discuss it this evening. So it's just whether we can do it outside the meeting or through the councillors.
Linda, why don't you drop us an email and we can have a look at it and agree it as a group?
Yeah, okay, lovely. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you, everybody. Take care, and hopefully see you soon. Take care.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for sharing, Karen.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Karen, thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.